Balaram Purnima, Balaram Jayanti, the appearance day of Sri Balaram. And we welcome everyone who's joined us online, those who are gathered here already in our live studio audience, and those who are on their way. Please drive carefully. It's busy out there. Take your time. We'll be here all night. And today we'll be remembering Krishna and the way that he avails himself to us in his various expansions, and each one of those expansions has their mood, and Lord Balaram is especially merciful. And those who are Gaudiyas know well from taking the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers that Krishna Lila and Gaura Lila parallel one another, to the extent that there's a book called Gauragona Deepika, and it describes how each one of the devotees in Krishna's Lila appears in Gauranga's Lila. And in Krishna's Lila, we find Krishna himself along with his brother Balaram. As we described this morning from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Balaram appears before Krishna in order to set the stage for Krishna's appearance. And in Lord Chaitanya's Leela, the same Balaram appears as Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu, in his early childhood, has the pastimes in his hometown, Ekachakra. And in his youth, a sannyasi comes and begs Nityananda Prabhu's father for a little donation of his son. That results in Nityananda traveling with a sadhu and then going to various places of pilgrimage for many years. When he's in Vrindavan, Nityananda Prabhu realizes through his omniscience that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is starting his Sankirtan movement in Navadvip, and makes his way there and unites with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Leela. The two pastimes, Krishna Leela and Gaura Leela, go together. So when we discuss Balaram, it's natural to talk about Nityananda Prabhu. In fact, if you look at the lectures that Prabhupada gave on Balaram's appearance day, you'll find they're typically about Lord Nityananda. And here's one of them, and it's a commentary to a song called Nityananda Nishta, Faith in Lord Nityananda. And it's as follows, with a little embellishment in the tune of Nitai Padakamalam. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are a shelter where one will get the soothing moonlight not only of one, but millions of moons. If the world wants to have real peace, it should take shelter of Lord Nityananda. Unless one takes shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, it will be very difficult for him to approach Radha Krishna. If one actually wants to enter into the dancing party of Radha Krishna, he must firmly catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. 2. Anyone who has not established his relationship with Nityananda Prabhu is understood to have spoiled his valuable human life. Such a human being is actually an uncontrollable animal. Because he never uttered the holy name of Nityananda, he has become merged into so-called material happiness. What can his useless education and family tradition do to help him? 3. Being maddened after false prestige and identification with the body, one is thinking, oh, what is Nityananda? What can he do for me? I don't care. The result is that he is accepting something false to be true. If you actually want to approach the association of Radha Krishna, you must first achieve the mercy of Lord Nityananda. When he is merciful toward you, then you will be able to approach Radha Krishna. Therefore, you should firmly grasp the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. The lotus feet of Nityananda, are not illusion. They are a fact. One who engages in the transcendental loving service of Nityananda is also transcendental. Always try to catch the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. This Narottam Das is very unhappy. Therefore, I am praying to Lord Nityananda to make me happy. My dear Lord, please keep me close to your lotus feet. And Prabhupada gives this comment. This is a very nice song sung by Narottam Das Thakur. He advises that Nitai Padakamalam, the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, are a shelter where one will get the soothing moonlight not only of one, but of millions of moons. We can just imagine the aggregate total of the soothing shine of millions of moons. In this material world, which is progressing toward hell, there is always a blazing fire, and everyone is struggling hard without finding peace. Therefore, if the world wants to have real peace, it should take shelter under the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, which are cooling like the shining of millions of moons. Prabhupada continues. Judai means relief. What does Judai mean? Correct. If one actually wants relief from the struggle of existence and actually wants to extinguish the blazing fire of material pangs, Narottam Das Thakur advises, please take shelter of Lord Nityananda. What will be the result of accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda? He says, Heno Nitai Bine Bai. Unless one takes shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, Radha Krishna Paite Nai, it will be very difficult for him to approach Radha Krishna. The aim of this Krishna consciousness movement is to enable us to approach Radha Krishna and associate with the Supreme Lord in his sublime pleasure dance. Narottam Das Thakur advises that if one actually wants to enter into the dancing party of Radha Krishna, he must accept the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. See, those signs we put up last week are well advised, right? Join the dance party. Then he says, Se sambandha nahi jar varta janma ge lotar. Sambandha means connection or contact. Anyone who has not contacted a relationship with Nityananda is understood to have spoiled his human birth. In another song, Narottam Das similarly says, Hari Hari Bipale Janama Goinainu. Anyone who does not approach Radha Krishna through a relationship with Nityananda has uselessly spoiled his life. Vrata means useless. Janma means life. Tar means his. And Sambandha means a relationship. Anyone who does not make a relationship with Nityananda is simply spoiling the boon of his human form of life. Why is he spoiling it? She Pashu Bodo Durachar. She means that. Pashu means animal. And Durachara means misbehaved, or the most misbehaved. Without elevation to Krishna consciousness through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, life is simply spoiled for the animal propensities of sense gratification. Narottam Das says that ordinary animals can be tamed, but when a human being is animalistic, having only animal propensities, he is most horrible, for he cannot be tamed. Ordinary cats and dogs, or even a tiger, can be tamed, But when a human being goes out of his way and neglects to take to the human activity of Krishna consciousness, his higher intelligence will simply be misused for animal propensities. And it is very difficult to tame him. The enactment of state laws cannot make a thief an honest man, because his heart is polluted. He cannot be tamed. Every man sees that a person who commits criminal activities is punished by the government. And also in scriptural injunctions, punishment in hell is mentioned. But despite hearing from Scripture and seeing the action of state laws, the demoniac cannot be tamed. Nitai pada kamala koti chandra shushita. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are like 10 million moons. Ye chaya jagata judai. By the moonbeams from Lord Nityananda, the universe is relieved. Eno nitai vine bhai Radha Krishna paite nai. Without approaching Lord Nityananda, it's impossible to attain Radha Krishna. Drida kore daro nitai pai. Hold firmly to Lord Nityananda's laws. Hey no nitai vinai bai Radha Krishna paite nai. Hey no nitai vinai bai Radha Krishna paite nai. Rida kore taro nitai Whoever does not have a connection with Nityananda Balarama lives a useless life. Che pashu bodo duracha. The person is just like an animal. Nitai na bolilo mukhe Majilo samsara sukhe. If someone goes through life without uttering the name of Lord Nityananda, his life is useless. Vidya kule ki kori beta. Even if he has a high birth or education, how will that help? Nitai napoli bote majilo samsara sukhe. Nitai napoli bote majilo samsara sukhe. Vidya kule kikori bota. who are maddened after false prestige and identify with the body. Asatyere satya kodiman. Satyere satya kodimani. Again. Asatyere satya kodimani. They think, who is this Lord Nityananda? What can he do for me? Nitayel karuna hobe Vraje Radha Krishna Pabe Vraje Radha Krishna Pabe Nitayel karuna hobe Vraje Radha Krishna Pabe Yaro Nitai Charana Dukane. If you actually want to approach the association of Radha Krishna, you must get the mercy of Lord Krishna. Daro Nitai Charana Dukane. When he is merciful, you'll be able to approach Radha Krishna. Nityananda Karuna Hove Braje Radha Krishna Pabe. That's nice. Go Premanande. Nitayel Karuna Hove Braje Radha Krishna Pabe. One more time. Nitayel Karuna Hove Braje Radha Krishna Pabe. One more. Nitayel Karuna Hove Braje Radha Krishna Pabe. Daro Nitai Charana Dukane. Daro Nitai Charana Dukane. Nitayel Charana Satya Ahara Sevaka Nitya. The lotus feet of Nityananda are not an illusion, they are a fact. Nitai pada saga korovaha. One who engages in the trance-loving service of Lord Nityananda is also transcendental. Narotamu Borotuki Nitai More Korosuki. Always try to catch the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Again. Narotamu Borotuki Nitai More Korosuki. Therefore, I'm praying to Lord Nityananda to make me happy. My dear Lord, please keep me close to your lotus feet. Rakoranga Charanirapash. Rakoranga Rakoranga Hare Radha Krishna Paite Nai. Vrida Kore Daroni Tarpa. Vrida Kore Daroni Tarpa. Heno Nitai Vinay Bhai, Radha Krishna Paite Nai. Heno Nitai Vinay Bhai, Radha Krishna Paite Nai. Siddha Kori Dharani Tarpa. Siddha Kori Dharani Tarpa. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda Balaram are a shelter where one will get the soothing moonlight, not only of one, but of millions of moons. If the world wants to have real peace, it should take shelter of Lord Nityananda. Unless one takes shelter under the lotus feet and the shade of Lord Nityananda, it will be very difficult for him to approach Radha and Krishna. If one actually wants to enter into the dancing party of Radha Krishna, he must firmly catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. So the material world is a place that's on fire. Samsaradhava nada lita loka tranaya karunya gana gana tvam praptasya kalyana gunarnavasya vande guru shri charanara vindam. And Lord Nityananda provides the means to extinguish a great burning sensation we all have in this world. Everything's burning. The body's burning at 98.6. 98.6. The whole planet is burning nowadays. It's noticeable. Temperature's going up. And there's a burning within the heart. There's Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Mada, Moha, and Matsarya. The Matsarya means envy. The envy is like that of a fish. That's why it's called Matsarya. A little fish goes in the pond, and then everyone wants to eat the little fish. And then the fish that ate the little fish, some bigger fish wants to eat that fish. And in the material world, everyone's envious of everyone else because they're thinking you're taking up my space. So there's disputes over all the land of the world, but not just the land, says Bhumi in the Bhumi Gita. She said, even the ocean, those who are envious, they say, this is my ocean, and that's your part over there, that little small part. Mine's the big part. And in this way, Matsarya burns in the heart of all living beings. Even in families, people are sometimes against one another because they're thinking, well, why should you get 25% of the inheritance? Who are you anyway? You never did anything for mom and dad. And then in the marketplace, people are strategizing so they can do hostile takeovers of other people's companies, and they're thinking to how outwit everybody else so they can make a product that's better. And in this way, in cutthroat materialistic capitalism, there's a competition always going on between one entity and another. And as mentioned in the Bhagavatam at the very beginning, the living beings who have 4 legs become food for lesser living beings, and one living being becomes food for another. And so there's this sense of competition in the material world that creates this sense of envy. And when that rainfall of mercy comes from Lord Nityananda Balarama, there's an awareness that the resources are not limited. It's the first thing my economics book, textbook told me. It cost me $70, by the way. It was made by the professor herself. And it said in the book, in the foreword or the introduction, that economics is a study of scarce resources. And there's a sense that there's not enough for everybody, but the real economics book is the Sri Upanishad. All economic problems are solved. It says, Ishavasyamidang sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tina tyaktenja bunjita magrada kasisudanam. Everything animate or inanimate within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. That should be the beginning to all the economics textbooks. But what about the scarce resources? Back up one verse. Om Purnam Mana Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Personality of God is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains a complete balance. And this psychology in the material world is a sense that I won't be loved enough. People have a fear of 3 catastrophic prohibitions to their happiness. Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. Raga means trying to enjoy the material world, and I can't hold on to it long enough. It keeps slipping through my fingers, and everybody wants what I want, so there's never enough. And then Bhaya means a fear. Fear means at any moment I can be extinguished. And I also wonder what's going to happen to me. I try to protect my identity in this world because I want to be loved and appreciated. Therefore, I try to present myself in ways that I think other people appreciate it. Steve Swearingen, in 3rd grade, he was the coolest kid in school. And he wore his jeans just a little, turned them up at the bottom. That became the greatest cause for consternation, at least for me. Should I turn mine up too, like Steve Swearingen, or will everyone think I'm just copying him? And there's this kind of constant anxiety to lose one's stature in the material world, because at any time, somebody was telling us yesterday, you can come to your office right mid-project, and then all of a sudden your email doesn't work and you think something's wrong, and then some person walks in and says, you have 7 minutes to get out, and we can't explain why. You just have to leave. That's just a sample of the unceremonious nature of the material world, and how our relationship with our work that gives us our status and the way we look, that can change at any time. It can become disfigured by old age or by some disease. And what to speak if I didn't like the way I looked to begin with. That might be a problem throughout my whole life. And I fear what I'll become when I die, what might happen to me. Therefore, people try to take shelter of all kinds of ideas. On one side, try to prop up the material body as long as possible to make it seem like everything's okay. Are you okay? Yeah, of course I'm okay. And krodha means there's a deep frustration because of grappling with the material nature. Krishna says in the Gita, Mamai-vamsho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, manakshashtan indriyani prakriti stani karshati, that within the mind of every conditioned soul in the material world, there's a hard struggle going on, thinking about how to survive psychologically, socially, physically. And it's not going to happen. Somehow or other, we lose our social stature. People who have been famous their whole life suddenly become infamous, Prabhupada says. One article in the newspaper. Of course, nowadays, nobody seems to care. But those who are upright, everyone makes mistakes. And if somebody, then their mistakes are revealed, take all of their mistakes, collect them, put them in one place, and then advertise that somebody's no good, then suddenly, how does that person feel? Lost and demoralized and so forth. This burning is going on everywhere in the material world. There's no relief for it, Narottam Das Thakur is saying, this burning, the envy, why can't I be like someone else? And then there's a deep-seated sense that maybe I don't deserve this and I'm being exploited by the Supreme and so forth because I've been exploited by everybody else. So one needs a shower of, we say mercy, but it comes in the form of being reassured that we are eternally okay and that Krishna loves us and that there's a place for us that's not such a struggle. We don't have to struggle to maintain our identity because our identity is so solid, as it says here, asatyeri. When you're trying to maintain something that doesn't exist, it's a real problem, isn't it? Yes. Trying to maintain a fake existence, and then you're always trying to make up for the lie. But the whole material world's like that. The whole sense of wealth, it's not substantial because whatever wealth I have, there's always an idea in the back of my mind that what if it gets taken away? So the real wealth, Narottam Das Thakur is saying, is Lord Balarama. He's Krishna who comes in the mood of, let me take you by the hand to this place where everyone accepts you. And that it's all happiness because you're acting in your eternal position as a servant. And he says, don't think that this is also temporary or it's a fake out. This is real. He says, the lotus feet of Nityananda are not illusion. They are a fact. One who engages in the transcendental loving service of Nityananda is also transcendental. Always try to catch the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. And Narottam Das Thakur claims that I'm very unhappy, therefore I'm praying to Lord Nityananda to make me happy. My dear Lord, please keep me close to your lotus feet. Prabhupada has said that a poor man is suffering because he has no prospect in life. Then if suddenly a very wealthy person with means and a good heart comes along and says, let me take care of all your affairs, then suddenly the person feels relief. But of course in the material world, there might be some strings attached. Do I have to pay that back? Or you may feel some obligation. But Lord Nityananda's offer is unconditional. There's no obligation. That is, there's no sense that I'm being exploited. It's all mercy. This is the shower that comes to those who contact Lord Nityananda through the Krishna consciousness movement, who feel that those whose hearts have been quenched, the fire's been put out, and they have no envy, and they're extending themselves only out of a sense of mercy. Like Shukadeva Goswami, after he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam, what does it say? Yaswanubhava makila shuti sara mekam adyatma deepam atitishitam tamondam samsarinam karuna yaha purana guyam tam vyasa sunum upayami gurum muninam. After Srila Vyasadeva taught the Srimad Bhagavatam to Shukadev, then he just went out. But why did he go out? Most people go out because they got to go to their job. And therefore, there's an old saying from that story about the yellow brick road. I-oh, it's off to work I go. Everyone's got to go somewhere to try to fill in the gaps. But Shukadeva Goswami just goes out of a sense of mercy to distribute to others, to give to others, because he's so full. So the celebration of Balaram. Balaram is the source of all happiness. Our happiness comes when we remove the obstacles to our happiness, which is raga. Raga means this thirst for the temporary. And Krishna says, excuse me, sir, by the way, yehi samsparshacha bhoga dukha yonaya evate, adyantavanta konteya nateshu ramate bura. But smart people don't do this. They don't go after temporary things because they have a beginning and an end. Need I say more? Word to the wise, if you grab onto something that's going to be gone tomorrow, then you're going to suffer. But Lord Nityananda is described in the same breath, or the antithesis of that. He's described Ramante Yoga no Anante. One of Balaram's name is Rama. Everyone say Rama. Rama. Say it 3 times. Then say, Rama, Rama, Mahabaho. The names of Krishna and Rama, they're always in the air. In Vraj, they're calling out, Rama, Rama, Mahabaho. Oh, strong-armed Lord Balaram, like the day that they go walking as they do every day, because they have nothing else to do but herd cows, and they have fun with Krishna. And Lord Krishna begins to glorify Lord Balaram, because it's not nice to glorify yourself, but since Balaram is his alter ego, he glorifies Balaram in order to bring attention to his glories. And he's appreciating the beauty of the forest in Vrindavan. And the cowherd boys, wanting to see the prowess of Lord Balaram, mention that there's a tall forest. That's not T-A-L-L, it's T-A-L. Because there's a tall tree, T-A-L, tall tree. It's got tall fruits, T-A-L fruits. And the boys could appreciate the scent of those fruits from afar, but it was well known that there was a bad person there named Dhenuka. And he was envious. He didn't want to share any of the tall fruits with anybody. Materialistic people do this, as I already mentioned, and they try to control Krishna's property and keep it for themselves. But little did they know, Balaram was on his way there with the cowherd boys. They said, oh, please, let us go enjoy those fruits. They smell so nice. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says their intention was they wanted to offer some nice tall fruits to Krishna, because the devotee enjoys more by offering nice things to Krishna. There's only so many fruits you can eat, but Krishna can eat unlimitedly, bhoktaram jagatapasam. And when Krishna is satisfied, then the devotee becomes satisfied. In fact, everyone becomes satisfied. So off they went to the Talavan, a forest full of these tall fruits. And when they arrived there, they saw the fruits hanging from the trees. And Balaram yanked one of the trees so that tall fruits came falling down, and this disturbed Denuka, who was dominating that part of the forest with all his gang members in the form of asses. So Dhenukasura came charging out, and one of the ways that demons are described as charging at Krishna, which I've always appreciated in the Krishna book, is they're armed only with their red-hot anger. The people get so angry, they do crazy things. The craziest thing is think that they could defeat Krishna. And Dhenukasura came and he reared around, is that a proper phrase? And then he kicked his back hooves on the chest of Balaram. Do you think it had much effect? No, Balaram's as strong as a mountain. He wasn't affected in the least. But then he grabbed the hind feet of Dhenukasura and began to spin him around so fast that by centrifugal force, he lost his life. And then he threw him into the peaks of the tall trees. And one tree hit another, and it caused a succession of tall fruit trees hitting one another, toppling some of the trees and knocking many of the fruits to the ground, which also alerted the other asses in the forest to come charging out to also try to fight to protect their territory, which is what most conditioned souls do. And Krishna and Balaram finished them all off in that forest. The boys didn't even want the fruits after that. But some of the indigenous local people, they took all the fruits. So Balaram defeats the obstacles. He's known Ramate Yogano Anante Satyananda Chiratmani Iti Ramapadenasu Param Brahma Vadiyate. This is a verse that Prabhupada quotes about Lord Balaram, or Rama. And he says that Ramante Yogano Anante Satyananda Chiratmani, that Rama, or Balaram, is a source of all happiness. And also, he's transcendental. He's not part of the material world. Satyananda Chiratmani Iti Rama Padena. So therefore he's called Rama, because he's the source of the highest spiritual pleasure, and because he's eternal. Param Brahma Badiyate. And the sages, they're in search of this kind of pleasure that comes from Balaram. They're not interested in the pleasure of the material world. In fact, this verse that I just quoted is in the purport to the verse Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonai evate ajantavanta konteya nate shuramate buddha, which means that intelligent people don't take pleasure in the temporary stimulation of their senses with their objects in this world, either the touch of the tongue and the different senses we have externally, or in the mind as well. They're not interested because they've understood their intelligence, their buddha, that there's no pleasure in it. On the other hand, there is a source of pleasure. Some people conclude that because there's no pleasure in the material world, then our exchange with it, therefore I should renounce the world. But the problem with that is that there's no pleasure in that either. Yenevra vindaksha vimuktamaninas toyastabhavad avashudha budaya aruya krishena parampadam tata patantyato nadrita yushmadangraya. which means that unless you get the pleasure of the spiritual world from Balaram and are engaged in service to Balaram, then whatever other arrangement you make in your life won't hold up. People like to make arrangements for their comfort to avoid inconvenience. Do you ever make any arrangements like that? And to try to be happy. But they don't work out. So the Bhagavatam directs us to take shelter of that which is real. And reality is the absolute truth, which means it has to have everything within and beyond our experience. We can't take shelter of something impersonal or void. Oh, the universe sent me a new car. I'm going to get an apartment, a cheaper apartment. I'm praying to the universe. That's okay. Krishna says, pratak me na, that there's different ways that people think of the Supreme. Sometimes they worship themselves as the Supreme. You get an artik tray and look in a mirror or something. Some people worship the devas with their different duties in the universe as Supreme. Some people try to worship the universe as Supreme. In the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna is talking about Bhakti Yoga, he said all these ideas are incomplete. They won't satisfy us. We have to have a relationship with a person. Yenevra Vindaksha Vimuktamanias means there's a person there who's interested in us personally, actually. That's one of the fears that Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, that maybe there is an all-powerful God, but he doesn't really care about me. Because we've had that experience, perhaps, that people show interest in us, and then it turns out they weren't really interested in us. They were interested in exploiting us in some way for their own reasons. What if there was someone who wasn't interested in exploiting us and was only interested in giving us unlimited love? So Bhagavatam says that's the only thing that can satisfy us, is to have that level of relationship. But they're even more specific. That's very philosophical. Well, it's not that philosophical. It's somewhat philosophical. But then there's the concept of Lord Balaram and Nityananda, who's God, who really cares about us and wants to extinguish the blazing hot fire that's burning us at every step, burning within the heart. Madha, Moha, Matsarya, Kam, Krodh, Lobh. Kam means lust. There's this sense of being lusty, and then there's a complete letdown after one expresses one's lust and thinking, what did I do? Krodh, anger, which has its own repercussions almost immediately. Lobh, greed. Prabhupada tells the story of a dog who's gotten a prime piece of meat and then he jumps on the boat. You know, at the Ghat, you can get on the boat with everybody and go across the Ganga or the Jalangi. So the dog got on the boat because he thought all these other dogs are going to try to beat me up and take this, and I'm going to get away from them all. So he jumps on the boat, and then the boat takes off, and the dog's looking over the side of the boat into the Ganga and sees another dog down there with a piece of meat, and he thinks, only I should have meat, not him. So he lunges at that dog, and then he loses what he has, and then he gets wet himself. And that kind of greed, it burns. And then mada, madness. People become mad with material desires. Moha, illusion. People totally forget themselves and fall into a world, a mentality of darkness. And Matsarya, already mentioned. So Lord Balaram is is Krishna. But he's in this mood to put out the fire in the lives of those who approach him and try to be his devotee. So Narottam Das Thakur is saying here that this is a real thing. Don't think this is a colossal hoax like the whole material world, like all the fake outs that have ever been perpetrated upon you since time immemorial. I once lost $20. That was a lot of money in a fake scheme downtown. My mother entrusted me with the money. They were gone for the weekend. $20. There was enough to buy enough groceries. I was downtown Berkeley, and there was somebody playing this game with cards. And there was a bunch of people standing around. I was like, I know where it is. And I put the $20 down, and they took it. And I lost it. And I was like, it's just gone. What's it called? Three-card Monte. Yeah. And I just felt this emptiness. My older brother didn't appreciate it either because we had to. But the whole material world's three-card Monte. It's like, here, where is it? It's like, there. It's like, nope, sorry. Take another birth, try again. You come out, here, you want to try again, little Jiva? It's like, over there. Nope, sorry. A three-card Monte going on in the material world. But Lord Nityananda doesn't cheat. There's no cheating from Lord Nityai. Raghunath Das came from such a wealthy family that they were considered to be billionaires. And when he got the opportunity to see Lord Nityananda Prabhu, or to see Lord Chaitanya rather, he hankered to go join him. Interesting, Prabhupada mentioned how when he came to America, he said, everyone's so wealthy here, you have everything you want, but he saw everyone in San Francisco, New York, he said, lying on the footpath. People come from respectable families, so why are they walking away from all this? There's no happiness in it. And then he noted that this great wealth that people had in America was not satisfying to them. And so Raghunath Das, who was also from a very wealthy family, and at that time people thought that the parents, they owned the children. In fact, some countries had this, that was part of the law. Children were the property of the parents. But anyway, although they were devotees, they were materialistic devotees, and Raghunath Das wanted to join Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wasn't able to until he went and met Lord Nityananda and his associates. And Lord Nityananda had called him because he was staying at a distance, and he accused him of, in a funny way, of being a thief, of maintaining his distance. And the Lord Nityananda put his lotus feet on his head. Sometime after that, Raghunath Das Goswami was able to escape from his imprisonment at home, and he joined Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri and became happy. And even though his family still kept sending him some of his trust fund, and he spent it to get prasadam for the devotees, for Lord Chaitanya, after some time he took to begging outside the Simandwar gate. Then after that, he went to these little places where they give free prasadam. And after that, he went to the place where people would feed the cows, Jagannath prasadam, but there was some of the prasadam that the cows rejected. And it would float down into a little collection point, and he would take that and then wash off the external part of the rice, and he'd take a little bit of that. And he's known as, the other Goswamis are Tyakvaturna Mashesha Mandalapati Shrenim Sada Tuchavat. That although they were in the midst of great wealth, material happiness, Rupa Sanatana Goswami, they were chief minister and the chief finance officer for all of Bengal. And they just walked away from their high-paying jobs, prestigious jobs, and they joined Lord Chaitanya, as did Raghunath Das Goswami and the others. Not interested at all, because Ramante Yogano Anante Satyananda Chiratmani Iti Rama Pradenasu Param Brahma Vadiyate, and that is because the devotees are experiencing the happiness of Rama, of Balaram, of his mercy, the relief from the scorching material world, and the vilas, the enjoyment of the play of the Lord and being involved with it, having access to the spiritual world, being privy to it. When I first joined the Krishna conscious movement, I remember that once we went on traveling Sankirtan, we did a lot of that. And we drove down to San Diego, and there were devotees down there in a little room doing Mangal Artik. I think I'd already been in the movement a couple of weeks. And we went into that little room, and we're having Mangal Artik. And I thought, this is like the best thing you could ever find anywhere. It was so exciting to be on the inside, have an inside connection to the spiritual world. And that's what those who connect with Lord Balaram Nityananda get, an inside connection to the spiritual world. And they get the enjoyment that comes there of Rama. Yat pada pankasha palasa, vilasa bhakta. There's a vilas, or an enjoyment that you get. So today's the appearance day of Lord Nityananda. And last year when I was talking about, today's the appearance day, Balaram, it's interchangeable, don't mind. They are interchangeable, Nityananda Balaram. So last year, Shastra Sarprada asked a question about how it was that those were didn't see any fault in anyone. Because remember we talked about the different levels of fault finders? You really do? Do you remember? Yeah, so Lord Nityananda is known as a dosha darshi. It means he doesn't see faults in anybody else. And I talked about three kinds of people who they see the fault and they see a good quality also, so then they decide to appreciate the good quality, although they still see the fault. And then there's the people that see the fault and the good quality, and they naturally gravitate towards the good quality. And then there's people that find a good quality in somebody who doesn't have any. And then there's, on the opposite side, the materialistic people who find faults even in somebody where there are no faults. So Lord Nityananda is a dosha darshi, or he doesn't see the faults of the living entity, he only sees their potential. And that's the Sankirtan movement, the mood of Lord Nityananda, that the devotees who are enjoying the vilas, the Rama, the pleasure of having the fire of material existence extinguished in their lives, in their hearts, they feel so generous because they've been given more than they can put in their pockets and store at home. It just keeps pouring out. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. It's all there and more, and the future is so bright, they just want to share it with other people and go knocking on doors and things like that. And bang, bang, bang. People come out, well, I'm sleeping. So that's the great movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda to distribute this great wealth of Lord Balaram so that people can become happy. And Prabhupada said that was the purpose of the Sankirtan movement, is to make people happy. Therefore, we say, Hey no nitai vine bai Radha Krishna paitenai. Hey no nitai vine bai Radha Krishna paitenai. Drida kori daro nitar pai. Drida kori daro nitar pai. Drida kori daro nitar pai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. So thanks everybody for coming out for the Purnima, which is the appearance day of Lord Nityananda. And a while back I was promised a little sheet that would tell me what the program is tonight. But so far I don't see anything. I do know that there's going to be an Abhishek, which means more chanting. 6:30 is the Abhishek? Thank you very much. We have an insider on the front row. And what comes after that? Artik at 7? 7:30 is announcements? And then 8 is Prasadam. Okay, Hare Krishna. Now, we can do whatever we want. Which is really nice because there's so much to do in Krishna consciousness. We can do as we wish. So let's take a few minutes. Pardon me? We could take a question.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for sharing the song of Narottam Das Thakur. Throughout the song, I was imagining Nityananda to be the spiritual master, because spiritual master represents Nityananda Prabhu, who is Krishna himself. My question is, when we get into devotional service of the spiritual master and we get engrossed, it becomes like a bloodstream. We cannot live without it. But then with that, as it said, that when bhakti comes, then knowledge and renunciation, the detachment happens. I feel a lot of detachment now with my near and dear ones, like the parents and sometimes even children, to the point that I've started feeling guilty, like, is this right? So to what extent this will go or should go and will be okay?
Okay with whom? I mean, Raghunath Das Goswami came from a perfectly fine family in general estimation. They were actually devotees, and they supported, or they worshipped Haridas Thakur. Remember, they supported him in that argument he had with one of their employees, and when the employee was indignant towards Haridas Thakur, they immediately fired him, and they were Vaishnavas. But when Raghunath Das came and joined Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu congratulated him and said, you left, it was almost like an outhouse where abominable substances float. And that's from the perspective of somebody who's tasting and appreciating vilas. So what's the happy medium? And that is mentioned by Narada Muni in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 7th canto. He says that it's inevitable that somebody's practicing Krishna consciousness, especially in the Grahastha ashram. As a sannyasi, you might have an excuse because you've committed social suicide. And if you say, sorry, you don't want to come, they may take it, unless you're in a Bengali family, in which case they won't take the excuse. So he says that although the same feeling may not be there, you should still not withhold from your family that respect and love and gratitude. And it doesn't mean that you withdraw your practice of Krishna consciousness, but you should also know that people might not understand if you just extract yourself from them and become cold or distant. So you should appreciate them on another level. And that worked for me. I had a lot of help because Nirkula helped me out a lot to continue the ruse. But I did leave my family when I was younger, but teenagers do wild stuff. And I just completely ignored them. When I first joined the temple and my father came to see me, and I hid because I thought it was Maya to talk to my father. My temple president, Nalini Kanta, severely chastised me. that was a learning experience for me. I thought, I've renounced the world. I'm not going to talk to anybody ever again. And then he said, no. Prabhupada said, when you see your family, you should offer obeisances and appreciate them and be grateful to them. That was a real lesson for me in coming into this all-inclusive, holistic idea of spiritual life. So there's a way that we should not be neglectful, but that doesn't mean that we should also then re-embrace the kind of talk that they have if they're not at the level of appreciating Krishna Katha, or that we have to then go along with a lot of the other habits that they have just to appease them. I mean, every once in a while you may have to spend a holiday or something like that, and that, in which case then you have to walk that fine line. And the effect ultimately is generally that a family that's not absolutely, doesn't absolutely abhor Krishna consciousness gets purified. We just heard the other day, or yesterday, some devotees were talking about how at first their family was really against Krishna consciousness, and then after some time they were noticing that the person was spending more time in the morning because they were staying over at their house, and they said, well, don't you have to finish your rounds? And at first they were against Krishna consciousness and this chanting, what is it? And then it moved to another level. So did it happen with you, that same thing? You want to tell? Here.
Initially, everybody was against Krishna consciousness because I was married into it because Prabhu was a devotee. So they tried many ways to lure me away, sometimes chastising, sometimes being heavy, and sometimes being sweet. But somehow it didn't work. But slowly, when I was associated...
That's the understatement of the universe. Go ahead.
But then after some time, after a few years passed by, and generally in the morning I used to chant, and I didn't come out of the room until I finished my round, so to talk to them when they are around. And one day I just came out early, and then I was just talking to them and everything, and then my dad told me, oh, are you not chanting today? How come you didn't finish your rounds yet? So even though they were against it or something, but now they are fully supportive, though they may not be 100% practicing.
Thank you for case in point. Show love, respect, appreciation, and at the same time, go on with your bhajan. And things change over time. People change, their hearts change. But we're not Mayavadis, or we don't treat people impersonally. Okay, now we're going to sing another song. Grab a... Oh. Guess we can't do whatever we want. 6:30 is Abhishek. We still have 10 minutes. We're going to sing a really beautiful song about Lord Nityananda. I'm going to have Shastra Sarprada sing it, because he really sings it sweetly. Sings everything sweetly, but this song is a top hit. Top hit in all the bhajans. This one. I mean, it's so good, I don't know if we should even sing it, because everyone might become too attached. All right, that's not a bad thing. Come on, Shastra Sar. You ready? So this is called Koda Nitai, and it's all about how Lord Nityananda deliberately set up a marketplace to get more people into Krishna consciousness. So, internet, 92 people on Zoom, 8, 100 total. Please say Haribol. Okay, let's sing this song, which is about everyone move up by 7.2 inches, please. Quick, because we only have 7 minutes left. Let's read the translation while everyone's moving up. I am singing the news of the greatest happiness. At the place known as Surabhi Kunj in Sri Navadvip, the marketplace of the holy name has now been opened and Lord Nityananda himself is the proprietor. Such wonderful things are going on in that blissful marketplace. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is selling the pure holy name wholesale, merely for the price of one's faith. Seeing the assembly of devotees eagerly waiting to purchase the name, Lord Nityananda first examines. Let's read it together, otherwise it sounds like I'm alone in an island. Each of them to test their qualification. Then he sells them the name by bargaining for his price accordingly. Oh, my dear friends, if you really want to buy this pure holy name, then just come along with me, for I am now going to meet with this Nityananda Mahajan. Thus you will finally be able to acquire the holy name. I will also take my due commission. In this way, all three of us will fulfill our desires. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is so extraordinarily merciful, accepting only one's faith in the holy name, he bestows the topmost divine bliss. When Nitai sees a tear welling in someone's eye upon chanting the name of Gaura, he instantly gives his support to that person. Indeed, he bestows all divine opulences. He gives that person genuine realization of the pure teachings of Sri Krishna as found in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. While displaying all this inconceivable mercy, he pays no attention to one's caste, material wealth, mundane knowledge, or physical ability. Now, dear friends, please reject all of Maya's entangling snares. If you are a householder, then just remain at your home. If you are renounced, then just live in the forest. Either way, nothing more will trouble you. We no longer need to fear the terrible age of quarrel, for the most merciful Nityananda gives the holy name to anyone and everyone, even to the lowest among men. Bhakti Vinod loudly calls out and proclaims to all, other than the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, there is no shelter. Oh, 7 o'clock-ish. I see what's going on here. So, these songs that we've been singing today by Narottam Das Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur are part of the beauty of the spiritual world. The spiritual world is filled with music. In the village of Vrindavan, they're all cow people. They go about their daily chores, churning butter. You can hear the cows. Anyone who lives around cows knows that they bring everyone to the point of peace. Once I stayed in the Goshala in Vrindavan, and I used to get up early in the morning, sit in the cow pen and just watch the cows and chant. And Prabhupada says it defies human reasoning how living with the cows brings one the topmost of human qualities. And in Vrindavan, when the devotees move about, they're always thinking of Krishna. And every day Krishna has his pastimes in Vrindavan, so they put those pastimes into music, lyrics, and they sing according to their feeling. And this is what raga means. The scales that evoke a certain kind of emotion in our hearts. Classical Indian music had it. It all comes from Krishna culture. And that Krishna culture is the spiritual world. Every gopi in the spiritual world has her own unique raga by which she sings out to Krishna. In fact, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that every species of life, 8,400,000, each has their own raga. We relate to Krishna by singing, because when we're happy or when we're in love, we just think of writing a song or singing out from our heart. And this is real bhakti. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Satatam kirtayanto mam. This is what the devotees do all the time, all the time, all the time. They're just singing the glories of Krishna from their heart. So when the great acharyas write down their songs, these are not composed to make some profit and think about how to make a bridge so that when people hear it, they'll buy the record and so forth. They're just expressing their love for Krishna in song. And these devotees like Bhaktivinoda Thakur are from the spiritual world, but they've come here to teach. So when we're able to pick up their songs and sing them here in this world, then we have immediate entry into the spiritual world. Now Prabhupada, when he came, his tunes were haunting. We just sang one of them now. Who knows where it came from, but I've never heard it anywhere else. It's not a Bollywood song. Sometimes, there's a lot of good Bollywood songs and people pick up those tunes, and there's some tunes that are well known, but that one's not. Meanwhile, in Bengal, when people sing the Artik song, it's very different than the way Prabhupada sang it with another haunting tune, which we're about to sing. And this song is about the beauty of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and his associates in the spiritual world. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam it says, Naishkarmyam apyachuta bhava varjitam shobhate jnanam alam niranjanam. Just self-realization is not very attractive. And one can't maintain any position of self-realization or self-abnegation unless one has achuta bhava, or this deep feeling of love for Krishna in the core of one's heart. And so this song brings that out. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote it down. You can see his original handwriting where he wrote this song on a sheet of paper. And it's in the museum, the archives in Kolkata. And Prabhupada brought this tune and introduced it to us in the West because it speaks about the glory of the Panchatattva. We'll sing it right now.